Give me a sign. Now is the time.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Boomband Showcase. I'm your host, Jeff Taylor. We got a great set of guests today. I can't wait to jump right in. Let's go. Welcome to the Boomband Showcase, everybody. How we doing?
Great.
I'm going to introduce the format. Basically, Madison is here. She's my sidekick. She's interviewed all of you, and she'll be kind of acting as a partner with me as we go through this process and talk to everybody. I want to introduce our mystery guest as the mystery guest, and she'll be with us through the entire process. What we're going to do is talk here a little bit amongst ourselves, and then I'm going to take each of you off and do a private interview with you where you get a chance to kind of share more about your background, and then we'll come back at the end, introduce the mystery guests, and wrap up. So welcome. Madison, do you want to just kick it off and just do some quick introductions?
Absolutely. Hi, guys. We're so happy to have you today. So we have three really great players on the showcase. We have Sage. Sage is joining us from Connecticut. She is a COO, but her last role was being the deputy head of total portfolio strategies. We also have Eric. Eric is joining us from Massachusetts, and he is a senior manager in talent acquisition. And finally, we have Erika. Erika is also joining us from Massachusetts, and she is a project manager in biopharmaceuticals. Oh. We're so happy to have you players. Welcome.
Thanks, Madison. Just to get started, I want to get you guys talking. How about one word to describe how you're feeling in your job search, in your kind of career transition right now, and why? And Erika, why don't we start with you?
Overwhelmed.
Okay. Tell us a little more.
There's a lot of jobs and not a lot of callback.
Yeah. So the idea of kind of playing in the void, not getting reaction.
Yes.
Yeah. Very, very common. And I think what we're seeing is it's a volume game. It's kind of using all of your tools. We'll talk more about it. Eric, how about you?
I would say in one word, it would be lost, or maybe even confused. And I think that's really where I've been over the last year.
There's a movie, actually soundtrack, Dazed and Confused. So what, just give me a little bit more sense of that. It's like not sure what to do next.
Well, I do think that, right now I'm just a number. In the number of applications that are out there, there's just so many people like me that are out and looking for work. And every time you apply for a job, you're just one of, I say 100, but it's usually multiple hundreds of folks that are applying. So you're just a number in that game. The confusion part of it for me is really more of, I'm at a pivot point in my career and really thinking about, do I want to continue down the same path, or do I want to take a fork in the road and go do something different? And that's just because of just my longevity in the business and really thinking about using my skills and experiences in a different way.
Yeah. I think one of the things that everyone has this feeling that there's just thousands of applicants circling around their opportunity. And one of the things I find is if you do the math and think about, there's a job, you live in the Boston area, there's an HR job in the Boston area, it's not thousands of people that you're competing against, right? And so there's some trend right now that it's important to apply early, because there's this spike early in the application process where you're seeing recruiters taking the first 50 resumes in and starting to process those. And so there's an important kind of moment to jump in and jump fast. And the other thing I think is that it can feel overwhelming. And so how do you manage that process so that you start each new search, each application kind of with fresh energy and a fresh push, kind of treating every one of these like a little chapter, and see if I can work that chapter. And if I can't, turn the page and, work to that next chapter. Sage, let me pull you in. What are your thoughts?
Jeff, I'm a bit earlier in my search than it sounds like my fellow players are, and I would describe it as introspective. I've had a bit of time since I left my last role, and I'm sort of, if you think about launching a rocket, I'm in ground control with self-discovery and figuring out where I want to direct this rocket and what I've been learning about myself, and really looking around the world and seeing so many interesting things happening, and trying to figure out where's the connection point between the value I have to bring and the incredible things that are happening in the world today that need talent that is similar to what I have to offer.
Yeah. So I would say possibilities is, kind of sitting in front of you right now. One of the scary things about ground control is everyone is just measuring everything and no one's actually getting that rocket off the ground. And then at some point, someone's got to press the button and say it's a go, right? And so maybe for you, it's a little bit of coming off of your Bridgewater experience and having that reflection moment and all the learning that you've done. Maybe we'll talk a little bit more about that. And, what are the possibilities, I think is really exciting. So I would say, Erika, that feeling of being overwhelmed. And then I think, Eric, for you, that lost and found is such a beautiful combination, I think, in this case. And how do you take each of these chapters and, kind of target that same energy so you can kind of keep going? Let's ask one more kind of question just to get a little bit of what you're like. And if I step back for a second, my whole goal of this podcast is to show each of you off as a human. And it sounds weird, but when you're in the digital world, it's kind of a void, as you described, Erika, and that you're in this challenge where you just feel like a number. I think, Erika, you kind of said that. And how do you stand out? And so here's a chance. And I love the idea of what's your superpower as a way to learn a little bit more about you. And Eric, why don't I start with you?
So, I think for me, my superpower is making connections. It's funny, my friends will joke with me all the time that I'll say, "Oh, I've got a guy for that. I know a guy about that." And so when I reflect on sort of what am I sort of good at, it's that connection making. And I think that's why I've been so successful in talent acquisition over the number of years, is because I've been able to build those relationships, not only with candidates, but with the managers, that they build this trust. And so for me, it's connections.
Yeah. So then the question is, how do you translate that from your professional experience making connections into, hey, I'm Eric and I need connections, and how do I market myself? And I think that's one of the things that we'll work on. Erika, how about you?
Sure. So my superpower, I would have to say, is strategic empathy. So as a project manager, I really try to learn my team and find out their pain points, what motivates them, what they're struggling with. If I have a project that I'm working on that I meet some hesitation, I like to learn why there's the hesitation, so we can move forward together and just reduce conflict. And as product management, it's completing tasks, but it's not just completing tasks, it's pushing people forward too.
Who do you lean on for empathy when you're challenged, like you are right now?
My husband. I would lean on my husband.
Yeah. And I think that maybe on your network as well. One of the things I might find is, because not only do you have empathy, but you have strategic empathy, which means that you're seeing it through their eyes and then helping them work through that. And so now you're in a situation where you need that guidance. And I would lean on your network a little bit to see if you can draw. You've been giving. A strategic empathizer is going to be a giver, right? So you're always giving, right? So you need an opportunity to maybe go to that bank a little bit. So we'll brainstorm. How about you, Sage?
I would say my superpower is something that I wasn't born with, but honed along the way, which is a unique leadership style that I've cultivated that really tries to find the balance between EQ and IQ. I've been told by senior executives that I work with that I'm the type of person they want in the room when they're thinking about their most challenging problems, because I try to put myself in the position of all the different stakeholders or all the different perspectives that exist in a scenario and look at them both with a critical and clinical perspective, but also with empathy and understanding what is making people tick and how they're seeing it through their eyes. And I think being able to do that has created an independent thinking. I'm not just going to follow what the room is saying. I'm going to really assess the situation. And two, an ability to craft strategy.
Yeah. So you have to be a good listener to do that, right? It just feels like if you're going to draw power from an EQ IQ combination, that you really need to be able to kind of grok what's happening in the room, right? So you can synthesize it yourself and chase it. I think it's cool. We'll talk more about it. Mystery guest, I just want to pull you in. What are your thoughts, observations, just quickly?
Yeah, so absolutely everything that has been said so far, it's what I hear from my clients as well. It's certainly difficult times when you see so many jobs that are posted and you're not necessarily getting that feedback. I think so many people are feeling like, where do I go from here? And, why am I not getting phone calls? And it's the story that sometimes you tell yourself in your head that can make it even more difficult as you're trying to go forward. So it's great to hear that everyone is really thinking about it and thinking introspectively as well of what they really want for their next role.
Yeah, good. All right. Well, what we're going to do, welcome you guys. I want to keep the conversation going. We're going to kind of get more into each of your backgrounds. I'm going to pull you into our other room, and I'll do that one at a time. We'll get some kind of one-on-one time or one-on-three time with the mystery guest and with Madison. And then we'll tag out. So Sage, you're going to come out, and then as you come back in, Eric will come, and then finally Erika will follow up as last. So welcome to the Boomband Showcase, and let's go off and have some conversations.
Give me a sign.
Sage, welcome. So Madison, can you just kind of synthesize Sage's background just to get us started? And then Sage, I'm just going to ask you what you missed. And so let's go.
Absolutely. So I had a pleasure of interviewing Sage earlier this week, and I learned a lot about her. So she has over almost 20 years of experience at her past company. She is a seasoned investment and operations executive known for driving transformative changes across front office functions, portfolio strategies, and international expansion. Over her very successful tenure, she received multiple promotions and led many divisions. In her last role as the deputy head of total portfolio strategies, she led a suite of business lines designed to deliver innovative investment solutions that tackle clients' most complex challenges. She also served as the deputy head of the China division, where she established a private fund management company with offices in Shanghai and Beijing. Sage also has COO experience and has been a trusted advisor during the most pivotal moments of her past company. She is also in her sports mom era and stays very busy on the weekends with her 3 young children. She loves to ski, does yoga, and is a huge advocate for type 1 diabetes. As she's looking for her next position, she is taking a step back to evaluate where she wants to be and where she can bring her drive. One thing's for sure, Sage is really, truly Wonder Woman and is always all in on whatever it is that she does. We're so excited to learn more about you today, Sage. Welcome to the showcase.
Thank you, Madison. That's a very flattering and generous introduction.
So
I'm
what's
excited to be here.
What'd you miss, Sage?
Just stepping back, you talked a lot about what I've done. And the way I think about myself is I'm a strategic problem solver. I lead teams towards ambitious goals. We figure things out, we learn, we make mistakes and grow along the way. And through a unique and authentic leadership style, I try to constantly level up in the types of problems I'm solving, how the complexity, how dynamic they are, all while trying to keep it real. Because a leader is only somebody that others will follow. And I don't think people follow people who aren't real and authentic, at least not for long.
Tell us a little bit about your Bridgewater experience. Can you actually say you had this many jobs at Bridgewater, or does it sort of mash together? People are always curious. Bridgewater is such an interesting place to work, and understanding what you're like and that feedback culture very strong. What's your view, and what did you learn?
Yeah, so I definitely played many roles, and they oftentimes morphed and evolved because the company was growing quickly, and that provided for a lot of opportunity for people who could take on more, or at least try to take on more. And so I definitely had different phases. Um, yes, people are always very curious about the feedback culture, and it's not for everybody. I think it's also a little blown out of proportion, oftentimes in Glassdoor reviews or that type of thing. For me, it was truly excellent because I like to know where I stand, and I like to be real with other people. I choose to do that with a lot of empathy, with a developmental and growth mindset, and I choose to take it with that same kind of mindset. It doesn't mean there weren't moments where I got feedback and, had a, emotional reaction or anger or, disappointment. But if you can pause and then think about what is this person offering me? What can I learn from this? Even if it's to validate a pre-existing thought, being offered those opportunities for reflection, I think, is a gift. And when you talk to people who aren't getting enough feedback, I think they feel the void.
Yeah, there's a thing at Bridgewater where there's a reflection about a lot of turnover, and it tends to be in the first, let's say, 36 months, where people learn about themselves, they learn about this culture, whether they can handle a feedback culture like Bridgewater has. But a lot of the turnover happens in that time frame, and then people that stay love it. And you stayed for 19 years, so I was thinking about you being out for a few months now. What do you, as you reflect back on all that learning, what do you take in, like, what do you really own from your learnings from Bridgewater?
So much. I mean, what an incredible experience. I feel like at every point I had more responsibility than I could possibly handle, and was always in a position where it was too much, too hard, too fast. And it forced me, or I forced myself, to develop the skills to handle those types of scenarios. And that has served me well in other areas of life, like being a parent, oftentimes feels like that as well. But just my ability to handle more and more complexity through time, more dynamic situations, different types of people and people situations, and also to approach problems that I had never seen before. And then towards the end, a lot of problems that I don't think anybody had seen before, like really, truly innovative stuff. You develop a confidence through going through a lot of difficult things and learning about yourself and seeing the resilience that can come from leaning into looking at your mistakes, optimizing your strengths and leaning on those, and then really learning how to construct teams that work really well together and can achieve more than the sum of its parts. One thing that Ray used to say was, if you don't look back on yourself a year ago and feel totally embarrassed, you're not trying hard enough. And I just love that. I love that because it demonstrates this incredible trajectory of learning and looking back and seeing how far you've come. And a year is not that long. And I can truly say, over 19 years, every year I looked back and felt embarrassed.
Yeah. Some people would say you have 10 years of experience, but it's 1 years of experience 10 times in a row. Other people would say they really got 10 years of experience, or 19 in your case.
Yeah.
My experience at Bridgewater, I also worked there, was that you were drinking from a fire hose constantly, as you say, always challenged. And I think on the outside, just a little plug for Sage is that companies are really excited about getting a Bridgewater employee, coming into their leadership teams. And so I just want to plug that because I worked with Sage and just an incredible contributor. And I agree with your kind of strategic problem solving and, kind of watching you in actions and meetings. Mr. Guest, let me draw you in. I'm kind of curious as how you would coach Sage as she's thinking about this rocket launch and trajectory, like where she's going from here.
Yeah, I'd love to hear about as you're going through this process of certainly the reflection and kind of thinking about what you want to do next. Where are you in that kind of journey and path? What have you discovered that is important to you in terms of your next role?
Absolutely. So I'll tell you a little bit about what I'm doing and what I'm learning. So probably the three things that I'm doing are my own introspection. And part of that comes from almost not reflecting. I needed a little bit of time to re-energize, regroup. I worked like crazy till the very last day because once I had decided to leave, I wanted to really leave my stamp, my legacy, and everything in a good place. And so it wasn't until after I left that I really got a chance to start to relax from that intense long-term experience. And so really finding myself again, leaning into things that make me feel like me. Then created the space for the reflections to emerge. And that didn't happen right away. So that's a very self-driven, at my own pace process. And that's the first thing. The second is bringing in the people who know me best. I kind of refer to it as my personal board, but it's the mentors, the friends, family, people who I think see me honestly and will have honest conversations with me, and really drawing them out to get their perspective and advice about their advice for me or ideas to ponder. And then the third thing is I just started an engagement with a senior executive advisor. It's not a headhunter, but it's somebody who will guide a senior executive who's been kind of at it for a long time through a process of, that reflection, and that has, homework assignments and assessments and networking, many components to it. I've actually been quite impressed by the number of services and offerings they're able to bring to bear. But that's really pushed my thinking as well. And, what I'm learning is that there's certain things, I've spent almost 20 years in financial services, but so much of what I have to offer is applicable outside of financial services. So I'm not pigeonholed in any way. And then, on a personal note, there is a tremendous amount of entrepreneurial energy in my household right now because my husband just launched a startup. And so, and really my last 8 years at Bridgewater, I was essentially working on a startup within the firm. And so that creating something from nothing, that energy is there, which, can be a true startup or something that's really innovative or transformative from an existing spot. And so that's what I mean by so many possibilities are being created through this process. And
is it tempting to want to team up with your husband and just like both do the startup together, or do you want your own thing?
No, not really. I actually have worked with my husband before, and it becomes normal.
Yeah,
becomes normal.
Right.
But what he's chasing is not what I want to chase, and but I'm certainly an advisor and very supportive. Try to be a supportive person.
A great sounding board.
All right, let's have a little fun here. All right. If we put together a time capsule and it's going to be opened in 100 years and someone approached you and said, would you put 5 things in the time capsule? There'll probably be other things. But what are things that you would like to put in that time capsule and why?
You never cease to surprise me how creative you are, even in the questions that you ask. And it's one of the things I love about you. So in 100 years, okay. The first is a picture of my family, or some connection to my family. It's the most important thing to me, and it's why I exist. I think the second, which would be more unique and personal to me, is one of my gratitude journals. Practicing, like having a true daily exercise of gratitude is something I adopted a few years ago. And it's been incredibly meaningful to me because in this world where things are increasingly negative, I never want to lose that joy that comes from being awe-inspired and grateful for what you have. It's also something I try to bring to my leadership, of course, celebrate the wins, be grateful for the team, motivate that type of thinking within them. But I would love for people to see what I was grateful for, big and small, from the huge contributions of friends and family, but also to a particular sunset or the sand in my toes, things that we're just so lucky to have. And something else I might put in is maybe a compass. I feel like life is an adventure, but if you have a compass that directs you, whether it's your heart, your mind. For me, it's oftentimes a moral compass or a intuitive sense.
That's cool. I mean, would you literally put like an REI compass?
Yeah, I think it represents something about me that I try to stay true to, do what is authentic and I would be proud of or is meaningful to me instead of what other people would have you do or where the momentum is taking you.
Yeah. Yeah. How about one more?
Maybe a guilty pleasure. I mean, I'd want to put in chocolate, but that's going to be of no use to the future. 100-year-old chocolate.
Well,
maybe
although they might
a bottle of wine.
Packaging a bottle of wine might maybe in 100 years. That's cool.
Very well-aged Cabernet.
Yeah. Well, so Sage, I just want to say, like, you have a ton to offer, and I'm very excited for you. You and I had a coaching session, I don't know, 2 months ago, and I just felt like I always come away from these saying, I would like to hire this person. And I think that's a great sign. I don't think my company's big enough yet to be able to do that. But I've really enjoyed our interactions. And I really want to just give you power right now for your rocket ship. Because I think you're great. So,
you're so well.
And I have to,
yeah, it was just so great getting to know you.
Yeah. Thank you. The one thing I'll say is I did take the opportunity to, just reconnect with you a couple months ago. And one of the things that we had talked about was I was interested not in jumping back into my next gig, but in expanding my experience to include board advisory. And you had given me some tips about how to talk to my network, and lo and behold, I did find something that is really, really interesting, and will hopefully turn out to be really rewarding. And so, that was an idea in my mind, but you gave me some nudges to explore that, and it came to fruition. And so, thank you. I have so much gratitude for that.
Right. So, if you're interested in talking to Sage, we'll make sure we have her connections as part of the showcase. And Sage, let's have you go back. You're going to tag in Eric and then we'll be back at the end.
Give me a sign.
Good, thanks.
Any chat going on in the other room that we're missing?
No, we were just shooting the breeze.
Yeah, great. Well, let's kick in. One of the things we try to do in this is maybe have Madison from her interview with you just give some highlights, because it's hard to describe your background in 3 or 4 minutes. And so let's kick off with that, and then we'll. I'm going to ask you, what did she miss as she goes through it, so you can kind of hear what she shares.
Well, we have Eric today, and you have spent over 20 years leading talent acquisition across North America, most recently spending a decade driving enterprise-wide hiring operations for over 650 jobs a year. You earn consistent top-tier satisfaction across all of your brands. You're a rare hybrid of being a strategic thinker and a roll-up-your-sleeves operator. And you're known for building scalable TA systems, boosting diversity hiring, managing vendor relationships, and leading ATS transformations that actually stick. With hands-on experience across every corner of the talent space, Eric is now channeling that expertise and thinking about pivoting towards a new role, potentially in the HR tech world. Truly a jack of all trades, he's currently staying hands-on through his side hustles at a popular local brewery while mapping out his next opportunity. He's a husband, a father, and is passionate about anything outdoors. His sense of adventure will take him anywhere, from hiking in the summer to skiing in the winter. So whether he's optimizing talent funnels or skiing down a double back, Eric brings energy and passion to everything that he does. We're really excited to learn more about you today, Eric, and thanks for joining us.
Awesome. What you miss?
She nailed it. She got most of it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I guess one of the things I want to do with you is I want to start to think about changing this narrative a little bit. And, I think in describing that word of where you are, I think lost in this process. And I think you're going to have to you don't have to do anything. But I'd suggest that we try to find a pathway out. And I took a quick look at your background. I looked at your LinkedIn profile. And one of the things I was surprised about with your resume is I don't think AI is anywhere on your resume. And then I went to your LinkedIn and I was looking at some of your posts, and it's like, oh, I took this AI class. I have this AI certification. I just did AI and data some sort of certification. And then I just got this leadership HR certification. And so I think to some extent, you look like you're developing a sort of a whole corpus of data around this idea of where you're moving toward. I'm just not sure you're telling that story yet. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. It's interesting because I think when I was restructured, my organization was just starting to utilize AI. And
right.
For me, I wasn't as much of an adopter as I probably should have been at the time, though I don't know that we would have actually, in my role, I wasn't using as much as I should have been anyway, but it was still a very early stage for us. And as I was getting out and saying, okay, what do I want to do next? I knew that AI was definitely a skill set that I needed to sort of build upon. And so I said, well, then if I can't do it because I'm not working at the organization any longer, the next best thing is to take some training and, get some of those
Absolutely.
LinkedIn certifications that are around it. But in terms of like application of that, I just haven't been able to do it yet. Right. So there's that sort of mix of, yeah, you're right. It's not there. And I feel like if I'm telling my story the right way and I'm looking at historical data and I get asked in an interview, like, how are you using AI? I can't answer that question appropriately. I can only answer it the way that I'm doing with you guys, which is to say, I'm learning it. I want to apply it. And maybe I'm not thinking broadly enough about, maybe I am using AI to do something that I just haven't even thought of before.
Yeah.
And my cover letters or my resume and all those things, right? Like I could do that. And that's application for sure.
So I think part of it, from my perspective, is how can you apply what you've learned in this coursework and keep that fresh? And going into interviews, I think you're going to need to say, like, look, my last role ended before everyone was really implementing the AI systems. So I've gone and learned about implementing those systems. Have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? And, even the way you're describing your role and the fact that it was restructured, I think maybe we can just turn that sweatshirt inside out and say, as I moved from my last role, I'm very interested in getting more involved with tech. And then let's bridge that, get you talking again about what's your interest in HR tech or the future of work as it relates to thinking about moving from being a practitioner maybe to out into, sort of entrepreneurship, I guess.
Yeah.
I would just add from an AI perspective, and as you think about how you would answer those types of questions, so many organizations right now are not using AI yet, and they're still struggling with how they implement AI. And so, I would just suggest that you think about how you can start using it even in your personal life, if it's even with some volunteer work that you might do. And, don't be shy of sharing your experience using AI. You probably will have more experience than the other people that you're interviewing with when it comes to it as well. So I would just encourage you to own it, and it's wonderful that you're learning in that area.
Yeah. Well, what are your thoughts about how you might be able to use what you've been learning?
Well, it's funny because I went through a video interview yesterday for a role, and specifically asked me about AI in that, and I'm like, oh boy, how am I going to answer this question? Because I put myself back in this mindset of like, I didn't do this, so how would I use it? And it was for a customer experience role, so it's about maintaining the person and the knowledge base that I have, and that's what I bring to the table, and me utilizing AI as the I don't want to say crutch, but a tool to be able to, help you get the efficiency in the product, help you get the efficiency in your workflows. So if that's, crafting, return messages to customers, if it's, crafting, answers in a database, if it's crafting, even just decisions within Excel. I mean, those are different ways that you can do that to create, formulas and pieces of that. That's not using AI to think, it's using AI as a resource. And that's really where I see the benefit of it. Because I think, AI, there's this, sort of fear, amongst a lot of people about that AI is going to replace their jobs. But from my perspective, it's AI is a tool for you to be better at your job. And, that's what I want to be able to sort of like capitalize on. So for me, it's just about thinking about what are the different ways that I can do that in everyday life to make me, shine, because I'm building those efficiencies for, below.
I think one of the things I see in your resume, in your description, is you talk about being an SME for Smart Recruiters and for Oracle and for People Fluent. And it seemed like you were the teacher, right? And so one of the ways you might think about that is like, look, I've been learning AI to the point where I'm going to be able to get engaged in those programs. And my goal is to be able to teach and get other people to understand these tools. That's a core competency that I have. And so just a couple of really factual things for you here. I think you should have a whole section on your resume where you now list your certifications. I'd like to see you in your expertise, be able to describe the fact that you've done, kind of 6 AI classes to position yourself as a tool, leader in that area. And you can position it however you feel comfortable. But I think you need to get that into the narrative and probably into your objective as well. When you talk about your summary, is that you've spent a lot of the last year doing AI training, and it seems like you have. So let's. I was actually at a networking event with you, and in the introduction process. By the way, good that you were out at that networking event. I spoke at that event, and you and I hung out a little bit. But we were talking as went around the room with introductions, and you said something about you like to build birdhouses. Talk to us about that for a sec.
Yeah, fell into that. It was one of those funny things where we had purchased a vehicle. It was my parents' vehicle for my daughter. And when I got the car and they had to turn the plates in. My parents were like, oh, don't worry about giving us the plates back. You can do what you want with them. I'm like, well, what am I going to do with these 2 plates, right? These 2 license plates. I've got, I'm not going to hang them on the wall or anything like that. So I said, I got it. I'll make a birdhouse for my parents. That'll be nice, sort of thank you for them about it. So I looked up the specs on the interwebs, and I made a birdhouse. But it was funny because they weren't expecting, they had no idea, and I showed up and I was like, here's a birdhouse for you. Like, that's our license plate. I'm like, yeah, it is. So the best part about this is that I made a duplicate one for myself.
Yeah.
And I hung mine in a tree, an apple tree outside of our kitchen window. My dad hung his on the shed. His took up residence within the first probably night that it was hung out there. Mine has had nothing in it for the last 2 years. It's just sitting in this tree with nothing in it, and I can't, and I have no idea why. So,
right.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you have to reposition your birdhouse. I don't want to say that's a juxtaposition with where you are with your career right now, but I think we've got to work that birdhouse into a location where some birds are going to find it, right? So,
yeah.
How about a couple more fun things from you? I like this question, and it's like, what building in the world, if you had to pick one, do you like, and why do you like it?
All right. So I thought a little bit about that. Well, because you teased this earlier. So this is it's going to be obscure, and it's probably one that most of the viewers aren't going to know. But it's called Lakes of the Clouds Hut. It's a Appalachian Mountain Club hut, and it sits right in the shoulder of, the shoulder of Mount Washington and Monroe. And this particular hut, it was one of the very first huts that I ever went to when I started hiking in college. The reason for this is that it is tough to get to. It sits literally right on the perch in the White Mountains. It looks out over this valley. It's one of the most beautiful places. And in the time that I went, it happened to be raining the first time I was ever there. So the clouds were, you talk about lakes of the clouds. I mean, the cloud cover was completely below us. So it's not anything about the structure. It's not anything about the construction, any of those types of things. It's about the memory, and it's about the placement of like where it is and how do you get there. So, we talked earlier about me, loving the outdoors. That's one of the places where you learn to love it. Like you've got to work hard to be able to see some really neat things. And that's a really neat place to go to.
And that's such a good motivation for life too, right? I mean, you have to work hard, and good things that are hard are worth it.
Yeah.
How about one more? I'm curious about what you're like. There's an important meeting coming. You're a couple minutes away from that meeting. What's going through, kind of you as you prepare for that meeting? What are you like? How are you with other people right before that important meeting? How do you prepare yourself?
Yeah, depending upon the content, and there's been tons of important meetings that I've had to be part of, right? There's a lot of prep work that goes into the first, nights or two beforehand, and you're doing it. I think just the right before the meeting happens, like you try to cram. And then for me, it's about just kind of just catching my breath and just realizing like that for all the questions you think you're going to get, there's going to be one in there you're never going to understand or get. And so you're just going to be able to say, okay, how do I get through that sort of question that this executive is asking me? And, for me, that's just a matter of saying, okay, like just help me understand that. And then being not afraid to say, I'm going to get back to you on that because it's not an answer that I have right now. And I've got to get myself into that mindset that I can't railroad my way through a presentation or a meeting, that I've got to be open-minded in those conversations because that's going to happen and you've got to be ready for it. Right. And that's just one of the things, we talk about connectivity, I mentioned that earlier in the process. And it's funny because I had a meeting, one of my last meetings out in Utah for the business, and I was sitting there and I knew we were going to get completely lambasted by the executive. And I let him get through it. And then at the end of it, I looked up and I happened to see some, things on his bookcase, and it was like, let's get through this. And now let's make a connection. Let's figure out how we can be partners, going forward. And that's always my mindset going into those meetings is where can you pick on something to say, like, let's continue this in a positive way because we have to work together in those partnerships. So it's about, that's how I prep for big meetings. It's the technical piece of it where we've got to present, but it's also the social, sort of personality piece of it because you want to make sure that they understand that you're a partner.
Yeah, great. Eric, thank you for coming in, spending some time with us. I'm going to have you go back to the main group. And if you can tag in Erika, that would be great. And
Cool.
then we'll be back in the main room.
You got it. Thanks, guys.
Breakout session.
Thank you for having me.
All right, quick shape here. Madison's going to give a little bit of your background just to save you some time. And then maybe you can just share if she's missed anything, and then we'll get into a conversation. Welcome.
Sure.
All right, so Erika is an accomplished project and program manager with over a decade of experience driving biopharmaceutical development from early research through manufacturing and finally to the launch. She has a strong track record in risk mitigation, change management, and leading global teams through complex cross-functional initiatives. Erika has played a pivotal role in advancing life-changing therapies, balancing scientific precision and collaborative leadership. In 2019, she completed her master's in biotechnology management from Harvard University Extension School, all while leading a team and welcoming her first child. Today, she's a proud supermom too, a diamond dart art enthusiast, and always game for a quick 5K. Erika brings energy, empathy, and execution to every project with a rare gift for translating science into strategy and turning complexity into momentum. It's been so great getting to know you, Erika, and we're excited to learn more. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So what is that? Diamond dart art? What's that?
Diamond
What's that?
art.
Yeah.
It's there's a picture that has different colors on it, and
Yeah.
you put there's this little sticky like stylus that you use, and you pick up the little diamonds and you put it on the paper, and my kids and I love doing it.
I've already ordered some for my son and I to do. You
love
totally
that.
inspired me. They're arriving this weekend.
Love that. You have to let me know how it goes.
Yes.
Diamond art darts?
Not darts. No darts.
Oh, just diamond art.
Diamond
Okay,
art.
great. So what did she miss? Just kind of hitting your background.
I think that was really thorough. I've spent the last 2 years in gene therapy, project management, working on a couple different projects. And before that, I was in ADC research, antibody drug conjugate for cancer therapies. And the gene therapy that I worked on was for muscular dystrophy.
I was looking at your Immunogen experience. It looked like you have 6 jobs.
Yes.
Just talk about like someone's keeping an eye on you, or are you just exploding out of jobs and people are seeing that? Give us a little sense of that.
So I started in the lab, and I decided from being in the lab that I wanted to go into product management, but I spent maybe 6 years in the lab at Immunogen, and then with that, every couple of years was promoted and then moved to product management, and got fully out of the lab, moved to project management.
Yeah, I'm kind of spending some time on your resume, and project management maybe doesn't do enough justice for the experiences that you have.
Okay.
And I'm just wondering. There's so many project managers out there,
Right.
and then if you look at your education and you look at your background in the companies that you work for, I think describing that is going to be important. And so I think your professional summary maybe could get a little bit shorter and more succinct. I'd love to see you add a skills or an expertise area onto your resume, because I think that would bring forward some of the skills that you developed. And it's going to be very science oriented, right?
Yes.
At the top of your resume. And then I went to your LinkedIn, and it felt like you don't really do much on LinkedIn. And
I don't. It's true.
Yeah. And so I'd love to see you maybe work a headline into your, just right under your picture where, your first few words of what you're like, to see if you could get the biotechnology piece into that so that it's clear. And I can't remember if you have an overview on your LinkedIn profile, but I'd love to see that get organized to kind of punch. Tell us a little bit about what you do as a project manager. And that's obviously the last job that you had at Immunogen, and then I don't know how you say it.
Sarepta.
Sarepta.
Yes.
And it's the job that you had at Sarepta. So talk to us about that. Like, what was your main responsibility? What were you moving forward?
So I was moving forward at Sarepta. I was moving forward two products. So we had one gene therapy product that we were about to commercialize, and for our FDA filing, and I was working with regulatory, supply chain, QA, QC, development groups, and then we were working with external manufacturing to manufacture our drug product, and really worked cross-functionally to try to get that filing in. And the other product I worked on was already commercialized in the U.S., and we were working to commercialize that ex-U.S. in EMA and Japan.
Yeah, you're just out. It looked like July was
Yes.
when you finished.
Yes.
What's the job market feeling like for you right now? I know you said that it's a little confusing, like
Yes.
there's just not much action, but just talk to me a little bit more detail about that.
So the jobs that I've directly applied to have been jobs that I found on LinkedIn, and their AI search has come up, and I've gotten hits of, you might be qualified for this position, and I'll apply, and without having somebody that I'm connected to work there, I just get the automatic rejection replies. There have been a
Have
few.
you thought about, I don't mean to interrupt, but have you thought about going directly to the company website once you find that lead?
Yes,
on
I do
LinkedIn?
that.
Okay.
I do
great.
apply
And
right
then-
from there.
And then are you able to look in your first or second or third order connections to see if anybody that you worked with at your companies works at any of these companies? Have you checked that?
Yes, but I haven't found. So I see people that I have gone to the same, like Harvard University Extension School, and I see people that used to work at my company, but I don't know them personally.
Yeah. And have you reached out?
I have not. Because I'm getting hits from recruiters that are looking at my profile on LinkedIn and reaching out to me directly. So I do have
Some activity?
I have 4 companies in my pipeline right now that I'm actively interviewing with. So I haven't felt the need to
Yeah.
do more.
So one of the things that your area may be an area where there's demand and there are less applicants, which would be good. I still think you should try to put
Yes.
as many irons in the fire
Yes.
as you can. And so this idea of relying on those recruiters, the recruiter is going to work whoever they think their top candidate is. You may or may not be that top
Right.
candidate. So you might get a good feeling from the recruiter, but then not get much action on the other side. And so I always would say, like, okay, let's try to do some direct outreach, and let's also keep using LinkedIn in this scenario to find other potential companies. Also, what companies would you like to work for? Right. And so can you identify, you know what, I've been really curious about what these two companies are doing. And then can you use that curiosity to go and like lean into those companies and see who you know or how you could activate even an informational interview to find out more.
Good point.
Ms. Triguez, I'm going to pull you in. What are your thoughts about where Erika is right now? She's really fresh in the job search, but also frustrated about the black hole. And, so it's interesting.
Absolutely, it is interesting, and it's glad to hear that you have some individuals who are reaching out from a recruiting perspective as well. But Jeff, I think you gave some really great advice, especially around thinking about what are those companies that you might want to work for, and also if it is still a project management role or product role, if it's a different role that you're looking for, really thinking about how you can start to build your network in that area, even if they don't currently have openings. You know, openings change very frequently. And I think if you're not fully utilizing your network on LinkedIn, it's probably a great time to really think about how you start to post a little bit more and how you start to build some of those networks. Because, even in my experience in the past, I've met people and 1 or 2 years later, I remember them and I can make connections to people. So I think it's just really worthwhile to start thinking about how you might be able to start making some more connections in some of the companies that you're targeting.
Let's have a little fun here. How about if your phone got wiped out and you were only allowed to put 3 apps back on your phone, and they wouldn't let you put any more, what are 3 apps that you really rely on? Let's say Google Maps is not one of those. Like what are apps that you'd put on?
I would definitely keep my email and messaging. And I was toying between 2, and they would be, embarrassingly enough, Candy Crush.
Wait a minute, that's not definitely it. I can't wait to hear what the other one is.
The other one would be Chrome, so I could stay connected to all things going on in the world and my personal job search and AI. I use ChatGPT all the time.
Hold on. So you're trying to decide whether you're going to stay connected to your job search or Candy Crush.
Yes.
Okay. Well, maybe you can stay connected through email and messaging.
Yeah.
And then you get to keep Candy Crush, as your kind of like secret little ambition on the side. How are you doing at Candy Crush?
Oh, I'm at an embarrassingly high level.
All right. Well, that's good. How about one more? What's something life is teaching you right now? And you may not talk about Candy Crush.
Okay. I won't. To be more present with my children. I'm having a lot of fun with them. My daughter had a couple weeks, she's 6, and she had a couple weeks between when camp ended and school started. So we really hung out a lot. We did quite a few mommy-daughter dates, and it was a lot of fun. And
yeah. I love Be Present. I can remember my middle daughter, I have 5 kids.
Oh, wow.
My second daughter actually put together a reading list for us together. And she would read to me and I would fall asleep. I was so tired. And she would like bang me and say, "Hey, you got to pay attention. We're reading right." I'm like, "Oh, yeah." And I realized I really couldn't run out of gas while I was reading with her because she was right at this like perfect spot, right? And so being present, I think, is wonderful.
Time goes so fast, especially with the little ones.
Oh, yeah. So let's go back to the main room. And Erika, it's really a pleasure having you here.
Thank you for having me.
We wish you, lots of energy in your job search. And we hope this will help you kind of get the word out. So
Thank you so much.
We'll see you back in the main room.
Give
Erika.
me a sign if you love your life.
that was awesome. I thought each of you kind of shared your thoughts and we had some brainstorming. And I wanted to bring in our mystery guest. And I want to see if maybe Madison can introduce our guest. And for the mystery guest, you can turn on your camera.
Hi. Yes.
Go ahead, Madison.
All right. So our mystery guest today is Heather Staples. She's a fast-thinking, witty, straight shooter who brings executive and career coaching to the next level. She is the CEO and founder of Human Strategy Partners and a board-certified career coach specializing in helping executives not only land roles but truly thrive, especially in complex multinational environments. She's also had some experiences while she lived overseas in Europe. She partners with leaders and organizations to tailor assessments, career coaching strategies. The New England native, but now she's based in the Deep South, Heather combines deep HR expertise with a no-nonsense style to help clients find clarity, confidence, and success. We are so excited to have you here, mystery guest, and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for that introduction.
Yeah, what did you miss, Heather?
Yeah, I think you covered a lot of things. So as you mentioned, I'm originally from New England. I'm now in the Deep South, which is probably just as big of a cultural transition than what it was when I moved to Europe. So I love talking about culture in different places and certainly helping individuals find what is really going to make them passionate about their next roles.
But you've been listening to conversations kind of across our showcase. Any advice or any observations? Feel free to just have a quick conversation with each of our guests.
Yeah, first of all, what a great showcase and the players that you brought. This has been so much fun. There was so much that I think we discussed that I think everyone can learn from listening into the conversations as well. Sage, you brought up a great point about using your network, but also how you use your network. And I loved the fact that you were talking about it as your personal board. So it's not just maybe, husbands and wives who might tell you what you want to hear and tell you how great you are. I love the way that you really look to having some conversations and really being honest about the people who know you best and how you can use that as you think about what you want to do next. I thought that was fabulous and what a great point for people to learn. For Eric, really enjoy that conversation as well. And I think we really hit on an interesting topic there too, in terms of what do you do when you start learning new skills after you leave your role? Or even if you're learning skills from other places, volunteer work, things that you might be doing with your kids, different kind of community involvement. And how can you be authentic in bringing that into your resume, into your LinkedIn profile? And certainly, I think that's something that the market is changing and really starting to respect individuals who are bringing in different certifications and learnings outside. So I'd encourage anyone who is in that situation to really think about in advance of interviews, what are those other skills that you've been learning while you are in your career search and how you can talk about those authentically. And for Erica, especially at the end, I really love the conversation about you spending time to be present with your daughter. And really, I think that's important. I know you're earlier in your career search than maybe some others, maybe some other listeners, but such an important lesson to make sure that even though it's a challenging time, it's a stressful time, it's a time that a lot of people might have some self-doubt, this is the time that your wellness is really so important to help move you and perpetuate you forward in terms of the search. And I think everyone mentioned that a bit in their interviews as well, but such an important part to make sure is still front and center. So I loved to hear that you were really focusing on that as well.
One thought, Erica, that is just in this conversation is how do you expand your network and your support group? So you're not just leaning on your husband in that scenario, but also kind of expanding to some of your professional network. Because obviously through all the jobs that you had at these different companies, you've been working side by side with people that know you well, that know what your strengths are and can kind of advocate for you, and could be people in your network that could introduce you to other companies. Heather, take a minute and just talk about your business and how can we learn more about your.
Yeah, so I started my business at the beginning of the year. I had a long career in HR executive work, and I was a Gallup strengths coach, and I just loved doing some of that work and helping people explore their strengths. So I created my company. At the beginning of the year, I really helped both individuals and companies try to tackle some of those very challenging issues that they might have. Mergers, acquisitions, finding the right talent, and then helping individuals try and find those perfect matches and those connections. So certainly feel free to follow me on LinkedIn. Welcome for all the requests, and it's Human Strategy Partners. And it's been a lot of fun to be talking to all of you today.
Great. So can you also share your email so people can get in contact with you?
Absolutely. It's info@humanstrategypartners.com.
Awesome. All right. Well, just to kind of tie things out, I think each of you has both challenges and opportunities in front of you. And I appreciate you being on the showcase. And so for any companies that are out there that would be interested in talking to Erika or to Eric or to Sage, or are interested in Heather and her experiences, we'll have a way that you can come to info@boomband.com, or I think maybe showcase@boomband.com, and you'll be able to get information on each of this group. One of the things I try to do is talk soon. All right, what a great show. I love hearing the stories. I like getting human. Get out from behind that resume and meet our players. If you're interested in any of them, email us at showcase@boomband.com. And give me a sign that you love your life. Come see us next week. All right, well, thank you, and good luck.
If you love